Hello, a very good afternoon and welcome to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia for this, the Monster Energy Catalan Grand Prix as MotoGP title talk goes up a notch. Marc Marquez eventually wrapping up the inevitable, what we've known for a number of months now, draws ever closer. The magic number this weekend is 10 points. If he's to outscore his brother by 10 points this weekend, he will head to Misano next weekend with the opportunity of wrapping up his 7th MotoGP crown. And after 7 back-to-back doubles, Lewis looking for sweet 16 straight victories this weekend. An unprecedented run from the number 93. It's, once again, we're starting the show by saying hard to bet against him once again.
Very difficult indeed. He has spoken in the past, in 2025, about certain circuits that he doesn't feel are necessarily too strong for him, but he dispelled that myth in Qatar, did the double there, dispelled that myth in Mugello, did the double there, did the double at Assen circuits, which historically haven't been Marc Marquez tracks. So I think we can just deduce from that every track in 2025 is a Marc Marquez / Ducati track. Yeah, to win the World Championship next weekend, as you say, first of all, he needs to gain minimum 10 points over Alex Marquez here this weekend. And then, of course, over the course of this and next weekend, he needs to gain 47 in total over Alex Marquez. So 23.5 a weekend. He has been outscoring Alex by that kind of margin in the last 5 Grand Prix. Of course, Marquez has been scoring a maximum 37 points every weekend. From Assen to now, Alex Marquez has only been averaging 10 points per Grand Prix weekend. If that trend continues for the next 2 Grand Prix weekends, Marc will win the championship next weekend at Misano. Yeah,
it's certainly interesting time within the paddock as we await the title celebrations of the number 93. We know it's going to come, barring complete disaster. Will it be next weekend in Misano, or will it be delayed? It looks potentially like being wrapped up at the Japanese Grand Prix in around 3 weeks' time, but that will come, of course, over the course of the weekend. But building up to this weekend, we've had deadline day in football. It's almost been deadline day in MotoGP as well. No fewer than 4 riders have signed up to be on the grid next year. It kicked off on Monday with Luca Marini and Johann Zarco committing to Honda for 2026. Then we had Frankie Morbidelli on Wednesday, and then it's a good job. Well, I was about to say how glad I am that this man's joining us for another year, but if I had just had my private parts out on television, then I wouldn't have been best pleased. It's a good job I put a belt on this morning. Exactly. Jack, how are you?
Good, mate, good. Yeah, no, lucky you've been, eating and that, and not too full, and your pants aren't falling.
I did have a big lunch, which helped.
Yeah, is that what happened? No. All good, mate, cruising along. Sun is shining, fans are out, so we can't complain.
And excellent news to kick off the day as well. As we were just saying, you're going to be sticking around for another 12 months.
Yeah, you guys are stuck with me for a little bit longer, but no, obviously over the moon with that. I feel right at home with the Pramac team, and really enjoying my time back here, and obviously with Yamaha as well. So awesome to get that over the line and to be a part of this new project going forward. It's something that I was extremely motivated for, obviously seeing the work that they're doing behind the scenes. You guys haven't been able to, let's say, see the work that's gone on, but those guys are really burning the candle at both ends, trying to get us a competitive motorcycle, and they're doing the best that they can. And you can't see it all now, but hopefully in time we will be able to see the benefits of that labour.
It certainly made a lot of sense, the move. It looks as though all roads are leading towards Yamaha introducing that V4 next year. You've got plenty of experience of what a good V4 engine is about. So I imagine, as you said, you're extremely excited because feel you can provide an awful lot to the project over the next 6 to 9 months.
Absolutely, yeah. The Yamaha, it's a fantastic motorcycle, and especially in the front end, one of the best I've ever had. Especially with the inline four, we don't use the rear tire enough, and especially with the way MotoGP is at the moment, you need to be able to use that rear tire definitely more than what we're doing, and some. So to be able to stop the bike, to be able to get it off the corner, be able to use the amount of horsepower that we've got these days. So the biggest thing is just trying to do that, and I think with the engine character, the way that there's not enough inertia in the inline four. We're not able to get the power and the inertia. It's kind of you're damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. So with the inline, with the V4, sorry, I think from the initial reports, the torque curves there. You can keep it in the drive area, and then the same for stopping. And even for the way that the TC works and stuff like that, the way you can cut cylinders and stuff like that, it just doesn't upset the bike as much.
Looking ahead to next year, the Pramac squad looks like a social media admin's dream for next year. Jack Miller and Toprak Razgatioglu as a combination sounds awesome. First of all, how much are you looking forward to working with him, and also how much entertainment are you guys going to put on for us next year?
Yeah, it should be good. Should be good. Hopefully, you know, the things come together, I guess you could say, like that. You know, so it's unreal to share a box with Toprak. You know, he's a legend already, and you know, awesome to see what he's going to do over here in MotoGP. And then I've said it a couple of times, so it kind of sound like a broken record, but it's the first time I'll be sharing a box with somebody who can do a better stoppie than me, so I'll be having that inferior feeling already in the box. But no, it'll be awesome, and like you say, I think it should be able to make some good, you know, some good positive energy from the both of us for the project, which is what it needs at the end of the day as well. So, you know, looking forward to that, looking forward to being competitive as well.
It feels like you have to raise your game, not only with the stoppies next year, the airtime in Portimao as well. He seems to have the edge on you on that one as well. You're going to have to accept the challenge.
Come on now.
Are we giving it 1-1?
Like, we can go 1-1. 2-2 you sound like a Toprak fan. No, I mean, I did as big as I could do on the KTM last year. That was all she had. Like, the engine hit the ground as I landed, so that was all the KTM had, but I'm looking to see what the M1 can do off the jump there in Portimao when we get there at the end of the year. You know, we'll send it off hopefully send the inline 4 off in a good way. You know what I mean?
Have you met Toprak before?
Yeah, you know, coming back to Toprak, he's I will say, you know, one of the most genuine people I've ever met. Whenever he has popped by the MotoGP paddock, he's always gone out of his way to come and say good day and stuff like that, and I appreciate that. You know, he's a genuine bloke. You know, anybody in our paddock that's worked with him in the Superbike paddock has nothing but good things to say about him. So I think he'll be a nice addition to the MotoGP grid.
Well, it's great to see you sticking around. It means I'm going to have to wear my belt for another 12 months to make sure I don't get into any bother. Great news, Jack. We're looking forward to seeing you on the bike next year.
Thanks, hey.
There we go. Great to chat with Jack, and of course, wish him the best for this weekend as well. And we've got no time to be wasted whatsoever, Lewis, because from one man that's going to be on the grid in 2026, we need to fire down to chat to another one, Johann Zarco, because Johann Zarco not only is going to be on the grid for 2026, but quite interestingly becomes the first official rider to be on the grid for 2027. But of course, when we spoke with Paolo Pavesio, when the Toprak deal was announced, he confirmed to us that although it was just a one-year deal initially announced with Toprak, it is a 2-year deal in part, so we will see Toprak for 2027 as well. But great news for Johann Zarco to be able to be not only confirmed for 26, but more importantly, I feel for 27. And that's absolutely deserved, given his performances ever since he's moved to Honda.
Great news and fully deserved for Johann Zarco. It's amazing to say it about a guy who's 35 years old, but it feels as if he's riding as well as he has in his MotoGP career. He's riding with a maturity now that perhaps maybe he didn't have earlier on in his career, when I think by his own admission the time as a KTM factory rider didn't go his way. LCR post-Pramac, of course, gave him that opportunity to stay in MotoGP, and he's helping lead that Honda program forward. Of course, the victory he took in Le Mans earlier this year, of course, did have a little bit down to the weather, but he's shown on many an occasion out in the dry that the bike can compete. Joan Mir said last time out too in Hungary that top 6, top 7 is about the level of that bike now, and Johann Zarco's played a part in that. And a 2-year contract for Johann, I do wonder whether that's maybe a recognition that this could potentially be the last contract for Johann Zarco in MotoGP. Hope it isn't, because of course he's riding so well, but of course by the time this next contract's going to be up in 2027, he'll be 37 years of age. So understandable that perhaps he wants a little bit of security at this stage of his career. And I think he's very happy within the atmosphere that he's at LCR. Family-run team, and clearly it's an environment that Johann Zarco thrives in. Yeah, we've spoken to him a lot this year about where he wanted to go, because obviously, given how we started the season with that victory in Silverstone, there was a lot of talk about the possibility of him being promoted to the factory team. But he mentioned time and time again about atmosphere and about how much of a part of the team he feels at LCR. So I'm sure that was a huge part of his decision, and we can ask him ourselves now as we welcome another rider that we're happy to say will be joining us again. Johann, congratulations. Great news that you're going to be with us for another couple of years. I think we all expected you to sign on for 2026, but a nice surprising element that
one of the first riders to be confirmed for this new era of MotoGP in 2027 as well. You must be delighted to have that 2-year deal all confirmed now.
That's pretty cool. It was a personal target to go to 2027 season and get this chance to be MotoGP, because with the new regulation, I expect that also with the new tires, maybe there will be some random situation that will give to Honda and to me opportunities of podiums or victories. Also with the new regulation, maybe there will be a bit more equality between bikes. And with the good energy I got with Honda, I wanted to push for these 2 more years and getting opportunities to catch.
We were just saying, throughout the course of the year, we've spoken to you a lot about 2026 and whether you would like to stay with LCR, whether you might want to push for the factory team, and a lot you've spoken about the family unity that you have with LCR. How much of a part was sticking with Lucio, sticking with a team that has helped you grow with Honda, a part of that decision?
With the 2 victories I got in Suzuka, I really have this feeling this year with the second victory that the support from all the Japanese in Honda was giving me kind of wings, and the desire to go to HRC was there, because you can feel that maybe you are more close to the factory, to all this support from the Japanese guys. But the strategy is a bit different, and the work we can do with Lucio, a bit more in the shadow, but with still a full support from Honda, is still pretty good and important to do. So having also the common target with Lucio and his sponsor to do the best, and I repeat, get chances of podium of victories when it's coming, because now with the experience, I guess I can control some tricky moments in a better way than others and enjoy strong results.
You're one of the most experienced riders in MotoGP. By the end of this next contract, you'll be 37. But do you still feel you're improving and getting better? Do you still feel you're riding at the higher level than you have ever in MotoGP?
Yeah, what I can see, it's a very technical sport, and the experience and trying to improve very small details helps you to go faster, spending less energy, and that's really interesting. For sure, when you are 25, if you have a problem, you can compensate with a bit more energy, that you cannot do it at 35, but you can compensate the problems with a bit more control and knowing better some details. I've seen it, and also the races where I've been the best, where the races where I've been the most controlling. So I'm trying to find this momentum for at least 2 more years and the most races as possible, because we are still doing these 20 races, 20 race weekend in a season. So many things can happen, and when you have this control, you enjoy a lot. And I discovered it at the beginning of this year. So I want to keep surfing on it.
Do you think the big change from perhaps Johann Zarco when he was 25 is purely mental rather than anything different you're doing on the bike?
I feel more the things, and when the tough moment is coming, I can understand better why and try to control myself, not losing too much energy in getting stress. I'm still not doing it perfectly, but clearly it's always a challenge to control your emotion. But I think, yes, from 25 years old to now, 10 years later, it's the tough moment that I'm controlling better.
Just finally, before we let you go, Johann, over the past couple of weekends, we've seen some big updates in the factory Honda garage. Are you going to get to try some of them this weekend?
No, not yet. I think they didn't have enough of new parts. So I'm keeping working on what I have since a few races, and waiting a bit to get the development.
Well, you're maturing like a fine French wine, Johann. 37 by the end of the next contract, but I'm sure there's many years to come after that. Great to have you on the grid for another couple of years, and have a good weekend. There we go. Great to chat with Johann Zarco, who another of the riders confirmed for 2026. And as you say, Johann, throughout his career, has had some big opportunities, and I think the dark cloud of KTM hung over him, but what he's done ever since joining Honda, I think, has completely vanished any doubts, any thoughts that Johann didn't have the maturity to lead a MotoGP project forward. He's been absolutely crucial in the progress that Honda have had over the past year and a half.
Yeah, and as he's kind of alluded to there, it's amazing how, I guess, the perception of Johann Zarco has changed over his MotoGP career. Because if you go back to his early years, even pre-MotoGP and pre his Moto2 championships, he had a bit of a reputation as something of a little bit of a hothead, didn't always manage his mind in the best way when things did get tough, as he was saying there. But I don't think anyone has that view of Johann Zarco now. As he has matured, as you say, he just seems to take those difficulties, he seems to take those difficult moments in his career in his stride, and he's obviously got the experience of having dealt with them in the past now. He can just deal with them as they come to him. And I think he's going to be a vital cog for Honda and for LCR Honda, of course, without wanting to preempt anything. But there are strong reports that he might have another rookie alongside him next season at LCR. Not confirmed yet, but that's looking like the way the wind is blowing. So his experience, once again, will be very important to Honda and to LCR going forward.
Yeah, for so many years, of course, the nearly man of MotoGP, but not anymore, with 2 MotoGP wins to his name. Another rider with MotoGP victories to his name that's going to be sticking around in 2026. Rather unsurprisingly, is that VR46 have managed to strike up a deal with Frankie Morbidelli. I'm fascinated to chat to him in a second to work out how those negotiations went. I imagine at the ranch over a bowl of pasta. Probably the easiest negotiations that anyone will ever have to do, as we now start to make our way down towards the VR46 box. It's been a seat that has been much debated, much talked about. I think nearly half of the grid has been linked to it at some stage throughout the course of the year. But in the end, Frankie will stick around for another year. And you have to say, given the opportunities, given the candidates out there, the correct decision. I think Frankie here himself will admit that he hasn't achieved exactly what he would have wanted to do this year, given the performance levels of the GP25, and that we can clearly see for Alex Marquez that the GP24 is probably still the bike to be on out there. So to not have that win to his name this year might come as a bit of a frustration, but he certainly hasn't let himself down this year. Has been a regular podium contender with that injury at the Saxon Ring to one side. Outside of that, has been pretty consistent.
Yeah, that injury came at a bad time for Frankie. Not that it's a good time, of course, to come to any sort of injury. But Frankie Morbidelli, there's been very little to choose between himself and Fabio Di Giannantonio so far this season. And, of course, Di Giannantonio has had the GP25 this year. Morbidelli has, at the very least, merited another year at VR46. I think what's going to be very interesting next season, I think it's going to be one of the stories of 2026, is we're potentially talking about riders like Alex Marquez, Fermin Aldeguer and Frankie Morbidelli going from a GP24 to potentially a GP25 for next season, which, looking at the evidence of this season, maybe they wouldn't be altogether that keen on, looking at the general fortunes across those riders on GP25s this season. Frankie Morbidelli won't be caring about that right now. He won't be too disappointed by that. He gets another season, of course, with the team that he's always dreamed of riding for. It's always been his dream to ride for Valentino Rossi in his MotoGP team, and he gets to do that for another year.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, as the media circus always goes, now that we've pretty much got the 2026 grid confirmed, now what's the next story going to be? Well, it's what bikes are they going to be on? It's who's going to be their crew chiefs? Are we going to get any changes when it comes to the technical departments as well? And that's all to come, as of course we then focus in on Marc Marquez, what we expect it to be, wrapping up that World Championship. But on Frankie, it's been, we speak about the technical partnership. He teamed up at the start of the year with Matteo Flamini, who of course was long time the data analyst for Valentino Rossi. It's someone he's known for many, many years. And just in that partnership alone, you can see and feel that bond that he speaks about, that this is the team of his dreams. Just right there in those two, you can feel it's much more than just a working relationship. Those two have known each other for years, and that comes out in how they operate their work. They're certainly a duo and a team as a whole that like to do things with fun and with a smile on their faces.
Yeah, an atmosphere that I think brings the best out of Frankie Morbidelli. Of course, think back to how last year began. We were starting to, I think, worry about his MotoGP future because he started 2024 injured. Didn't really get anywhere near on top of that Ducati until 2/3 of the way through last season. Probably around about this time of 2024, we finally started to see Frankie getting the best out of that Ducati. And we wondered, coming into this season, staying on the same bike, how that would affect him, whether he would be able to continue to prosper on that bike or whether he would gradually drop back. Of course, he hasn't had the same kind of stratospheric rise as Alex Marquez has had on that same bike, but he's still done a very, very good job. And I think he's an asset that the VR46 team don't want to lose because, as you say, it is such a family-orientated team. And as near as makes no difference, Frankie Morbidelli is part of the VR46 family because he's, as mentioned, he was the original VR46 Academy graduate, the first to graduate from that academy and win a world championship. So there's no way that a VR46 team will want to lose him unless there's a talent on the table who they just cannot say no to. We thought perhaps Pedro Acosta was going to be that through this season because he stayed where he is at KTM, which of course has allowed Frankie Morbidelli to enjoy that extra year.
Yeah, and we know that conversations took place. In the words of Uccio Salucci, it was a coffee that they had together between Pedro Acosta, his management, and the VR46 squad to potentially look at the options of teaming up for 2026, but it was obvious that Pedro was going to struggle to get out of that KTM deal. And as you say, they know what they're getting with Frankie. They know him so well, and often, not every team can have a Marc Marquez. You need someone that is going to be Mr. Reliable. He's going to turn up. He's going to be on the front 2 or 3 rows in the grid. He's going to be inside the top 5 or 6, and that's exactly what he is. And he's going to be, importantly, sambering his way into our first ever Brazilian Grand Prix next year. Mr. Frankie Morbidelli, let's shuffle around, shall we? In fact, let's allow him to have a quick photo with some of our fans here first as they come in attendance, and welcome in Frankie Morbidelli, the third of our guests on this show, the third of our riders to be confirmed for next year. Frankie, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. Pleasure to see you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Not as well as you, though, I'm sure, after the news earlier this week. We're just saying how great it is that you're sticking around for another 12 months.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm happy about the announcement that we were able to do this week. I'm really pleased to keep on working with the team. As you all know, the relationship between me and the team it's amazing. So we've been doing pretty good in this first half, even though I had an injury and some mistakes. We've been able to do some good performances, some great fights, and we are planning to step it up and to work together for one more year. For sure, it gives us the calmness to work in the right way to try to step it up.
If you can, just take us into the negotiating room, because I'm fascinated to know how you sit down with Uccio and Valle and talk about contracts with people that you know so well and have such a good relationship with. How does that happen after over a bowl of pasta at the ranch? Just talk us through it.
There's a lot of crap flying around, for sure. When we sit down and talk, both ways are very open to each other. But yeah, it's a very unique kind of negotiation. For sure, the more serious part is taken by Gianluca, so he's the serious one.
Yep.
While between me and Uccio and me and Vale and Carlo, we are just talking openly to each other. It's quite nice, yeah.
I imagine it's quite fun going to a friend like that and saying, Valle, come on, give me a pay rise next year. Just add another couple of thousand on there for me.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't push too much on that, but yeah, for sure. We've been talking about that as well.
I guess the talk as well, looking at the next year, is the bike you're going to be on. Of course, we know it's going to be a Ducati, but I guess the likelihood is it's going to be a GP25 for next season. Have you been looking at the performances of the GP25, perhaps speaking to Pecco about his struggles on that bike? And is there a concern, perhaps, of riding that bike next year?
There should never be a concern on riding a Ducati. We all know the potential of Ducati. We all know the quality of their way of working. We know the quality of their machines and how good they all work on track and off track. So there shouldn't be any concern on that matter.
Well, Frankie, thank you for joining us, and it's great to have you on the grid for another year, of course, ahead of our debut in Brazil as well. I'm sure you're particularly excited about heading to Guyana.
Thank you. Yes, I'm really happy about Guyana. Everybody should be happy about going to Brazil next year, having a race in Brazil. I've heard many nice stories about the previous race in Rio, and now we go again. The race, the MotoGP comes again to Brazil, which is a country that I'm very related with and I love. I'm half Brazilian, so my family is gonna come. Part of my family is gonna come for sure. Many friends are gonna come. A lot of people are coming over for sure, and a lot of people is going to follow that race. So it's a very full of emotions weekend. It's gonna be a full of emotions weekend. I'm gonna have to take my time to think about it.
Well, Frankie, thank you for joining us. We're going to have to head to the press conference now to hear from Marc Marquez, Pedro Acosta on the back of 3 podiums in his last 4 races, and Jorge Martin. What a comeback ride that was in Hungary. And of course, since we're last here in Barcelona in November, how much has changed for the world champion. 3 absolute superstars of the MotoGP grid, and they're all previewing this, the Catalan Grand Prix.